Hello, my name is Maximus Bolcon, and today I'm interviewing a retired sergeant in the Department of Corrections for Massachusetts, an officer for SORT, and also my father, Christopher Bolcon. Dad, how are you doing today?
Good.
That's good to hear. Chris has been working in law enforcement for 32 years. Would you mind telling us how you first got into law enforcement?
I first got into law enforcement after college. I applied to their co-op program, and I was placed at the Old Taunton State Hospital, where we did court evals for the state, and they were there for 30 to 90 days, and then Department of Correction or Sheriff's Department, someone would pick them up from our facility and then bring them back to court and then place them elsewhere. While I was there, everybody tries to get into the police departments and everything else. So I saw how the Department of Correction worked, and I was figuring using that as a stepping stone, and applied there because they were doing the same job as we were, except on a grander scale. And that's how I got into the Department of Correction.
Wow. So would you mind telling us what a typical day as a corrections officer looks like?
Typical day for a correction officer is we all start with roll call no matter what shift you're working. It's usually a 15-minute briefing as to the climate of the institution. Has there been any fights, any gang activity or drugs found? What to look out for if anyone's in crisis. That way we get a feel of what's going on before we go behind the wall. And then after that's over, we go through the trap. We get searched just like all the visitors are, just almost like going through the airport. You're going through metal detectors, they're searching your bags, they're checking you out, and then once you're through, you grab your equipment, which is just keys, cuffs, and a radio, and then you're on the inside of the institution. From there, you go to your assigned posts. We run chow, which takes about an hour and a half to 2 hours, because you got to let it go by half a block, because you don't want to intermix the whole institution at the same time, because you have different gangs and predators versus victims, and so we just try to keep it to a minimum movement. And then after that, they go to their, they'll go back to their blocks, and then we release them throughout the day to different either therapy groups, or if one block is going to the gym or the yard, another block might go to industries where they're learning a trade. And then that's pretty much it. While the officers are on the blocks, they're looking for any types of suspicious activity, any type of smuggling going on, or passing contraband or whatever. Well, that's usually about the day of the institution.
Of course. So you said they get involved into different trades. Like what kind of trades?
It all depends on what the inmate is capable of based on his status as far as security threat. But they have machine shops, they have sign shops, silk screening shops. I mean, most of the signs that you see on the side of the road are usually made inside an institution somewhere.
Wow, that's crazy. So, like, pretty much some, like, the road signs that we see when we drive past them, that was
Right.
made in an institution.
Yes.
That is insane.
License plates as well.
Wow, that's incredible. So, from your personal experience, how would you handle, like, an aggressive inmate or a violent inmate in one of the cells?
If an inmate starts to become aggressive, we go to our use of force policy, and it's a progression of use of force. We try to just de-escalate the situation. We try to talk him down, try to get him to see that he's not going to get his way per se as far as whatever he's acting out on. We try to get him to calm down, try to refer him to a therapy or therapist, talk to someone, If the inmate continues to be aggressive or agitated, then we try to remove him from the situation. If it's in a classroom or if it's in the hallway or the gym or something like that, we try to remove him from the gym away from the rest of the community. If he's non-compliant, then we have to place him in restraints. First, we tell him we're going to place him in restraints, just comply. And if he doesn't, then it has to be hands-on. And then depending on his aggression, we'll respond in kind. There's usually other officers at that point, because usually at the first sign of it, a call will go out saying, I have an uncooperative inmate, and other officers will converge on the area. And then if it goes to the point where we have to use force, the inmate will be placed on the ground, cuffs applied, he'll be picked up and taken out of the area and escorted to the health services unit, where he'll be evaluated by the nurse for anything that might have occurred in placing of the cuffs, and then he'll speak to mental health. And then from there, either, depending on how violent his reaction was, whether he gets placed in segregation for a period of time, or does he just get a ticket and released back to a unit.
Wow, and how many times have you had to handle situations like that?
I couldn't even begin to remember. In 30 years, a lot.
Wow. Well, that is quite an exciting life you've lived. That's quite an experience. We will be back in a few moments after a quick commercial break. Stay tuned.
Struggling to crochet with a bad crochet hook? Well, I have a solution. You should try the new Poppy crochet hook. This crochet hook makes it easier to create beautiful crochet projects.
I was struggling to finish my project with my other hook. Now that I have this new one, I can crochet effortlessly.
Acre TV is back and better than ever. Don't believe me? Just ask our members.
Beautiful. Awesome.
Fun! It's wonderful.
Groundbreaking. I already did. Stupendous. It's exquisite. It's great. Acre TV, where your digital media dreams come true.
And we are back with Christopher Bolcon on his life in law enforcement. Now, before the break, we briefly mentioned your involvement in the Special Operations Response Team, or SORT. Would you mind telling me what your team was typically meant to handle?
The Special Operations Response Team is responsible for mostly internal problems inside the prison. If activated, there's three segments of our team. There's SRT, which is weapons, the tactical unit, which is the part I was on, which is more hands-on riot gear, tear gas, batons, cuffs, restraints, tasers, and then there's K9. The team can be activated to go inside an institution if they suspect drugs being smuggled in. We can lock down the institution and search the entire block, because the staff that they have on hand at each institution is enough to operate the institution itself and its daily function. But SRT would go, tactical unit would go in there, and we would lock down the institution, search each cell, inmate, and have them removed from the block, search the entire block, then place the inmates back, and continue on throughout the entire institution, even through the classrooms, industries, every place else, yard. It also is used for if there's an uprising in the prison or the cell block. If a cell block is lost and the inmates gain control of the cell block, we get activated, we go in. Or if the institution is lost. There's also been instances while I was on there, we have been utilized by the state to assist local police departments in search and rescue, because we're trained in land navigation and search and rescue techniques, and we've also been used to help assist Boston PD in crowd control during when the Red Sox won their first World Series. We were sent out there to help with the crowd control. The team itself is not, you're not constantly active, you are a member of it, so my regular duties would still be there. I'd still be a correction officer at the facility that I was assigned at, but if I get activated, I go to the response house and then get my gear, and then we go to wherever we're being sent.
Wow. And you've said you've helped with like search and rescue. That's actually pretty interesting. I thought it was only just like riot police.
Right. It's very rare that we get asked to assist outside community. Usually the department wants to keep us inside, just in case something, you never know when something is going to spring up. Plus, it's a little more, we stand out a little more, so you don't want officers walking around in gear and stuff like that, so it's to try to keep it at a minimum. But if it's like for the safety of the public, as far as missing person, missing child, or an elderly person who walked off, you know, we would assist in that.
Wow. Wow. So, knowing the danger that this particular job entails, what is the craziest situation your team was called to handle?
Several disturbances, as far as at Walpole, a block was lost, or a bunch of inmates in the yard refused to re-enter the institution, so we have to go out there, and you don't know what they have at that time, whether, you know, because weapons are always being made, shanks and so forth. Another time was when they were closing Old Southeast Correctional. There was 1,200 inmates there, and they'd already moved half of them, but the other half was giving a hard time, so we were activated to be moved in and empty the institution, and that was an all-day and all-night project. And then the final one where that was really stressful was the Easter Sunday riot at Dartmouth House of Correction.
Wow.
Because that whole institution was lost and we had to regain control.
So like the whole institution, like pretty much it was overrun.
Right.
Wow.
And their riot team was already there, but it Massachusetts Department of Correction at that time had 300 tactical officers on standby, so we just got the word and we all converged on that area.
Wow, that is insane. So this job really demands a lot from you guys. So how do you deal with the stress of working in fields like this?
To deal with the stress, I mean, you should exercise, because that burns off a lot of stress. While I was working, I was working out all the time. I was running. I was an avid runner. That kind of helped burn off the stress. But the most important thing is to talk to someone trusted. My wife and I talk on a regular basis, and I'll vent, my days, all my concerns whatsoever. And I have a couple of friends who I started with, and we've always been together. And we can sense when the other one's stressing out, or losing it, or the job is affecting that individual.
Right.
And you'll get phone calls at home saying, "Hey, we need to talk." And so some guys don't do that. Some guys resort to alcohol, some other stress relievers, overeat, and suicide is a very high in the Department of Correction.
Wow.
I mean, not just inmates, but officers.
Wow. That is a lot. I'm sorry you even had to experience any of that. Well, working in a career like this really demands a lot from you guys.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we'll be back in a few moments after a quick commercial break. You guys stay tuned.
Has this ever happened to you? Tried to buy food with no way to pay for it? Have you tried to get into your dorm but haven't been able to get in?
Oh, I wish I had a device to allow me to access my room.
You need your ID.
No!
With your ID, you are open to a whole new world of possibilities. Being able to pay for your food, or being able to get into your dorm. Your ID. You need it.
Are you tired of feeling uncomfortable taking a nap? Aren't you just trying to relax after a long day? Feel like you have no options in your house? Well, don't worry, because there is a couch that is waiting for you to buy. With this, anything is possible. You can comfortably lay down. You can scroll on your phone. You can even beat your brother in video games. And hell, you can even get a workout in. So what are you waiting for?
Do you struggle to keep your handwriting neat and straight? You aren't the problem. Your paper is. Try new and improved lined paper. With its discreet, evenly spaced blue lines, you can leave lopsided writing in the past.
What's up? Come on. What do I do? I have an idea. Perfect. Look what I have. Here. How do you know how to sit already?
Treat so tasty, your dog will read your mind.
My bad, what's up?
Do you have the script ready to go? Is that a no? Why do you do this every time? I'm ready to help you. Why do you always procrastinate?
Control the noise with Bose Quiet Comfort Earbuds.
And we're back with Christopher Bolcon, former CO Sergeant and SORT officer. So Dad, we talked about your career in the Department of Corrections earlier. Tell me, what is the most rewarding part of being a corrections officer?
There's different aspects of that. We are the hidden part of law enforcement. Everybody sees the police officer on the street or the FBI agent or something like that. Corrections is one of those things that no one looks at or thinks about unless something has happened inside the institution. But other than that, just knowing that you're going in and you're keeping the community safe, you're keeping these people locked up, especially with some of the crimes that we know our inmates have committed, knowing that that they're secured inside, and that makes us, you did a good job, you made it out, you're going home to your family, you had a good day. There's different aspects that you can do while you're working for the department. Community service, community relations, stuff like that. But there was a program that I was involved in the mid to late 90s. They started a boot camp program for first and second time offenders for inmates. It was a hardcore military style setup for nonviolent crime. If they volunteered to go to the program, they were there. I would say it was 3 months, 3 to 3.5 months, and on completion of a successful time there, they were granted a chance at parole. Depending if they didn't have any priors that were still, waiting to be heard. And we would get the inmates in, the officers, including myself, we were all trained for 2 months in drill instructor school. And so when they would come to us, we ran them through the routines. We'd get a platoon of 30 to 35 candidates, and we would be right on them, holding them, instilling strict discipline, accountability for your actions and whatnot. That was the hardcore part of it. Then there was also therapy through therapists and classroom instruction, and we tried to weed out those that were either faking it or not committing to the program, but still had the same inmate attitude, still had the same attitude that got him convicted in the first place. And we would start out with a platoon of, like I said, 30, 35, and usually within a week or a week and a half, we'd be down to 20, and then from there we'd start weeding out even more. And usually we would graduate a platoon of usually 12 or less. Usually between 12 and 10 we would graduate. But even to the last minute, inmates were taken out of the program, like a week before graduation. Between the drills and the therapists, we saw something that wasn't right. And the success rate of that, inmates who did graduate, they usually remained on the outside. They made a turnaround. There is some that there is some recidivism, but far less than would be if he just went through the system inside the prison itself. So knowing that, even after the program had ended in the early 2000s, we would still get cards, because we can't keep in contact with any of the inmates or anything else. There is no officer-inmate contact after. And a card would be sent to the institution or the camp itself, and just a thank you card saying, hey, thank you for sticking by me, helping me during, to turn my life around. And usually you never get something like that. And for that brief period of time in my career, that was actually the most rewarding part.
Wow, that's incredible. So you weren't just like restraining and keeping inmates inside. You were actually trying to help with the reform, to basically make them functioning citizens in society.
Yeah, and that was what was nice about the program, because all the officers who were there went through the drill instructor school, all had the same attitude towards trying to make a change in the department, besides what we were used to behind the wall. So it was a nice experience.
That is incredible. So got one more question for you. What advice would you give anyone who's thinking of getting into law enforcement, or people who are currently getting an education for law enforcement? What advice would you give them?
My advice would be to, everybody's going to want to be the police officer, everybody's going to want to be the FBI agent, or wherever you want to go. Take the opportunities where they pop up. If you're applying and there's such a long waiting list to get into a certain PD or agency, look to the Department of Correction, because they are always hiring. You're gaining experience, you're gaining de-escalation techniques, learning how to deal with inmates, learning how to deal with that hostile type of environment. And when you get the call from the local PD or whatever, you already have a background in it. So you stand above somebody else who's just applying straight off the street. And then the other thing I would suggest is don't let the job consume you. Try to maintain a positive attitude.
Right. Well, that is all the time that we have left for today. Dad, Thank you for coming in to see us. I'm Maximus Bolcon. Thanks for tuning in.